1. Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for somewhat of a stage recap. Unfortunately, there was another mass crash in the Dauphiné today, stage 5 from Amplepuis to Saint-Priest, 167 kilometers. It's basically winding its way through some rolling hills in the southwest, or rather west of Lyon, and then they were going to finish in the outskirts of Lyon to the east. It was, again, I always, we say it every day, if we had a dollar for every day, we've said it, Benji, why don't people try and go on the breakaway? Yeah. Do they really want to get beaten by Mads Pedersen and Sam Bennett in the finish? And then in the end, we look on PCS, the stage started, I swear, this is the earliest stage of the year, and there's 3 guys in the break, Lebert, and I don't even know who else. I was having breakfast.
Tobias Bayer together with Mathis Lebert and also Adna Holter from UNOX. So we've got 3 riders in the breakaway, one of Alpes and Arkea and UNOX. And I agree. I expected maybe a larger breakaway, maybe more teams that would be intrigued to go in this breakaway. But on the other hand, I got to be honest, just like you, I wasn't aware the race had already started because it's so different from the previous days that suddenly I got a tweet from someone that said, why did the race start so early today with about 60K to go? And I was like, the race started early today? And I started watching with about 60K to go. So I did turn back towards 80 kilometers to go because something did happen during the stage. We immediately noticed that some of the descents were rather sketchy. And I swear with about 80K to go, there was a descent which already had like damp road surface, relatively wet. And you see the breakaway just being a bit more stressed in those corners in the descent. And there was this corner where Adna Holter, the UNOX rider, straight up ends up crashing. Lebert, who is in the blue-white KOM jersey, it's so weird to me.
Yeah.
For me, ASO races should always have polka dots, like red polka dots. But for some reason,
why would it be
here.
different?
I don't know, actually.
And also the summit, the Sommet markers as well are blue. The same color, light shade of blue. Do they have a different KOM sponsor for the Dauphiné and Paris compared to the in Paris? What color was it? I can't remember. So I didn't focus on it too much.
Couldn't tell you. But anyway, Holter crashed. Looked like a pretty rough crash, but he was up swiftly. He rolled over the floor with his hands, so no glove territory, unfortunately for him. He might have a bit of pain in his hands the next couple of days. Lebert had a magical save to not crash in that descent, and that's crash 1. Those riders returned towards Tobias Bayer, and then the breakaway. I won't talk too much about the action against them, but in the end, they were all 3 fighting for stuff. Lebert ended up taking KOM points, and Bayer tried to push in descents, which resulted in them losing each other in the descent. And there were some moments where Holter, he was a bit scared from the first crash he had, which I think is logical. And that's why he was behind a little bit. He had a bit of a moment on the one of the last descents as well, where he was like, ooh, almost crashed there. And then he lost his bike computer as well in the process. And to be honest, like, I was already terrified when it comes to descents in this race, just by Adna Holter in the breakaway. But then another crash happened in the peloton. I'm not talking about the mass crash yet, but it is a considerable crash anyway. And in that crash, we already saw a bunch of riders on the ground, and that was Nelson Paulus, Pedrero, Tejada, Zimmerman, Kroon, Schelling, more on a straight road that was. And all these crashes, and we'll go back to that later, to me it looked like one rider falls, and the rest falls because they're trying to brake on slippery road surface. Did you have the same idea?
Yeah, it looked like even if you were laying off the wheel behind, even if you were trying to take it easy, if you had to slow down, you couldn't slow down. And that's what it looked like. I don't know if this is the case of bad road surfaces or if it's the case of it's been hot there and dry, and then we've just had a first bit of rain and the roads get really slick. It sort of seemed to be like the Nice opening stage in 2020, Benji, stage 1, where there was a bit of rain, and for I remember Sivakov's, he just couldn't stop. I think that was rest in peace the rim brakes as well, but that was maybe the last. When was the last edition Tour de France had rim brakes? 21? Or did Poggy also ride him in 22? I feel like he rode him in 22. Colnago was the last ones. Even Pinarello changed.
Yes, I think Colnago was the last one to win, but
Don't know if he rode him in 22.
Pogacar didn't win, so I don't know whether that's the last year or the year before was the last. I do remember vividly.
Oh, I just mean them being in the peloton at all.
Oh, well, I think they, in 2022, probably at least one team might have still had them.
Yeah. Anyway, it was like those roads in Nice, very, very slippery. And I also get nervous, especially since the Basque Country crash, Benji. It's like when you see the break of 4 guys,
yeah,
if they miss a corner, if they have a problem on a descent, then it's you worry for the peloton behind. Because it's like if they in a group of 4 are having a problem who aren't fighting for position at all, then what does that mean for a group of 100 guys, 150 guys coming through? And I'm not sure if anything else happened up to that point. We saw then there's the climb. There's like 10 k's of flat uphill or false flat uphill, and then we get the Côte de Bel Air. This is nowhere near the finish. 23 k's from the finish. It's a nothing climb. You know, even Trek are not going to try drop Sam Bennett here.
Did you see Will Smith?
I did not see Will Smith, a Trinity rider.
What? Is there a Trinity rider called Will Smith?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's pretty funny.
I think so. Let me check.
Let's hope so.
Not Willie Smith, Will Smith.
That's William
Smith. It's William Smith, but we'll call him Will Smith for now. Yeah, he's on Trinity.
My friend. Come on, get out of here.
But yeah, it's a fight for this climb. You got Lemon on the left and Cohn Bowman doing the lead out for Jorgensen and Kuss. You got Pollard or Wellens or Sivakov doing the lead out for Ayuso. You got Bora there. You got Trek doing a good job. Trek have been really good this week. You got Ineos with Frailer pacing. Everyone fight. You get to this climb. They don't do the climb too hard. No one's dropping. It's a full peloton because it's too far from the finish. And on the descent, Benji, the moto got out of there quick. I feel like there was no front motorbike for this descent. There's not even a heli shot of this descent, which is strange. There's just a rear moto. And basically we see the rear moto cuts to it, crash. I was thinking the first crash you see is in what I call the plap zone.
The plap zone?
It's in the plap zone. Like last 5 guys to the left. It's always to the left for some reason. Okay. So you crash down there. But then you see more down ahead, and then the heli shot comes in. Whole road is covered in riders crashed. The whole road. And so it was it was just a massive, massive crash. We don't know what happened. Like exactly, we don't know this guy touched his brakes and went down first. We don't know because there's no heli shot. What we do know is the road was incredibly slippery, glissé, it was shining. You see at the back, Romain Combeau on DSM. He's got plenty of stopping distance in theory, and then he tries to stop and he can't. He fishtails and crashes, and every rider just goes down. So at that moment, Benji, our minds quickly switched to everyone's down, but who's hurt? And who was hurt? Or who was down and who was hurt?
Exactly. The mind is not on who's up, but who's down and who's actually hurt. And gotta be honest, first reaction when I saw this crash was like, okay, a few riders crashed at the back, let's hope they're okay. But when that helicopter switch happened, you immediately think back to Basque Country, but also this was a bigger crash in the amount of riders on the ground than that. And I'm thinking back to other crashes that were this huge when it comes to the amount of riders that crashed, and I'm thinking of a crash with Jurgen van den Broek in the Tour de France 2008 or something, where I think Vinokourov crashed out as well. Then other the one where that was neutralized, where Cancellara crashed in the yellow jersey towards Mur de Huy or something, towards Liège in the Tour de France 20, if I had to guess, 11 or something. If we have to think back so much for these crashes, it's been a while since we've seen a crash like this. And on the first moment, we do see Roglic being involved in the crash. He's like eating a bit of a gel, so he looks to be up. He looks to be relatively okay. We see Remco Evenepoel sitting on the ground. I'm like, yeah, maybe he's hurt. Maybe he's a bit scared from last time. Was your initial take?
Well, I saw him sort of, both he and Roglic testing the old shoulder, pulling the knee, which is what you also can do to pull a dislocated shoulder back in, to pop it back in.
Wait, you pull your knee to put your shoulder back in?
Yeah, so if you look at the photo of Roglic when he crashed into the hay bale, that's how he popped his shoulder back in, by like pulling your shoulder to like put tension on it to like pull it back in. That's what he tried to do after he crashed in Stage 5 Tour de France 2022. But I wasn't too worried for them at that stage because the first thing you do after you've come back from an accident and crashed and broken something, and then you crash again, is you're like, I've broken it. I've re-injured myself. And thankfully, both of them seem to be okay enough that they're back on. They're not in an ambulance. They got back on their bikes. They're riding to the finish as we speak. So that's as okay as we could hope for.
When it comes to other GC riders, Ayuso was also relatively involved, and he seemed to be the most hurt of the three for me. And it's like, at first I couldn't tell what was injured for him, but he seems to be holding his wrist or something in certain shots. So let's hope his wrist is okay. He looked a bit more fucked than the other two, but let's hope he's not injured. He's been prepping for the Tour de France as well. I still think it's more in co-leadership than full-on domestiqueship because it's Juan Ayuso. So I don't necessarily think he will fall into domestique role instantly at a Tour de France. But it's a shame to see those. But then we see shots of two riders that are the worst based on what I've seen so far. And that is Kruijswijk and Van Baarle. And sorry, but Vismalab has had someone's having a voodoo doll and like pricking them the entire year so far, because there's been so many crashes, including Vismalab, that have been serious injuries to the point that Kruijswijk and Van Baarle are leaving this race with the ambulance. And I'm thinking, okay, if these are serious injuries, which they seemingly seem like injuries worthy enough to leave the race, or probably might involve a fracture, then what about the Tour de France for those riders?
Well, yeah, it's not enough time. I mean, the tour starts in 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
From today, 28th of June.
Yep.
You got a little holiday planned in between, and we got Swiss, but it's 3 weeks away. And so you've broken something, you can't make it. It's impossible. So it looks like, especially as like these sort of guys, they're motivated. They just spend two altitude camps. Van Baarle had a terrible spring with crashes or whatever. Kruijswijk, this is his big goal for the year. They ain't getting in the ambulance because they got a sore ribs or, a bit of a sore shoulder. So that really didn't look good for those two. Hopefully it is that, but they abandoned the race and they looked the most hurt.
Is there something like, for example, we see a lot of crashes, especially this year, but we also see that it's often the same riders having injuries from a crash. Is there something as, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just inventing shit. Is there something as a rider that maybe had previous injuries or just genetically or something is more fragile for crashes?
There has to be something in it on a rider-by-rider basis. Is first of all, like, does a rider know how to crash well? Like tuck and roll. That's what people say, like in ski jumping, you get taught how to crash because you're going to crash at high speed. Yeah. There's also bone density. There's also your fat percentage. I've crashed here in Andorra a few times, Benji, and had skin off, but no broken bones. Is that to do with maybe a little bit extra padding?
Mate,
compared to
remember that one time where you crashed in a descent and had to escape from the hospital to be on the podcast in time?
Yeah, no breaks though, because maybe there's a little bit extra padding. Seriously though, that has to make a difference too. These guys got bony hips, bony shoulders. Yeah. I don't know, but like Kruijswijk and Van Baarle, they seem to be out. I couldn't see Milan Menton also crashed and abandoned. As well, and that might not be the end of the list. It also is the case that often, like, these two are very prominent riders on a big team, so they get focused on more than another rider.
About an Arkea rider, for example, that might have crashed out, which is a shame, but
that's just the reality.
My next thought when it comes to this is we've seen a few riders go out. The race has been neutralized, by the way.
Yeah.
The second that crash happened, the commissary was very quick decision, which I think is very good that they quickly decided. It was pretty obvious that it needed to happen because there's multiple reasons for that. First of all, the majority of the riders in the race felt like 50 riders were on the floor to me. if not more. And in addition to that, that means the ambulances in the race, the medical personnel is occupied, which means that if the race continues in the front, there's no ambulance ready for any crashes that happen in front of it. And like you say, that is not allowed. And that's why these neutralizations with big crashes happen. Also, regardless of that, I think it's sometimes good to neutralize with a big crash. But whether they would restart or not, we then had a moment where Romain Combeau, he's one of the better friends of Bardet, I think, at DSM. He was talking to a motorbike, and this is my translation from French, so take it with a grain of salt. But he said something along the lines of, there's a few sprinters that hit their head. It would be dangerous to have a sprint at the end of this stage. We'll talk to the commissaires. The riders need to talk to the commissaires. There's carnage on the road, stuff like that. And I think that's a very good take.
Yeah, I think so. And I think ASO did the right thing, or the only thing they could have by neutralizing this stage. I mean, you could even say on these sort of, is it safe to even ride neutralized to the finish without ambulances? But they have to get to the buses, and it's 20 Ks away, so there really is not much choice. And they finished now and rode it in. I don't know if anyone else pulled out during the neutralization. I would say, you know, the list of guys that went down, we already said Remco, Roglic, we mentioned the two Dutchmen on Visma bike who were definitely out, so that's a big shame for Kruijswijk and Van Baarle, but Hindley crashed, bloodied knee, Wellens definitely crashed, Pollitt crashed, he had a bloody left hip. Ayuso looked the worst, I would say, of the top GC guys, Benji. Ayuso had to be helped to his feet and looked very ginger getting back. So we'll wait to see. And there's also things like, I said Chris Harper did a great job getting through that stage and he's fine.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He couldn't start. He had a broken hand. So,
really?
yeah, he broke his fingers or hand. That's why he couldn't grip the bars with his left hand.
Jesus.
So, you know, you never know. I think we'll have to wait until the start tomorrow to see who really is, because they got to sleep on it. And this has big ramifications for the Tour, Benji. And, you know, Basque Country, it's strange because, like, Basque Country, I feel like there wasn't enough about how that descent had a hidden danger in it, and everyone, it's been forgotten about. It will never be spoken about again. But
to me, it was shocking how many riders were saying, this crash was on the rider's fault, stuff like that. While to me, it seems very obvious that there was a danger in that corner that was not taken care of by organizers, that could have been taken care of, because there's not that many across the parkour of that stage in Basque Country. So that's some danger that should have been handled. And I wish there was more uproar about something like that in the peloton itself in Basque Country. But when it comes to this stage, there's quite a bit of uproar now on the internet of what could have been different for this stage. But
it's a 1,500 meter, 5% descent.
Yeah. It's a wet descent. Yes, the road surface was really slippery. I would say it's probably more slippery than just water. I don't know what it was, but the fact that every rider that tried braking crashed sounds to me that maybe it's a bit oily, the road, something like that. Maybe it hadn't rained there in a while, which is weird because I would have guessed that it would have rained in that area recently. But to me, it feels like there's a missing link here of why everybody crashed instantly.
Yeah, because this is not all these riders were taking huge risks, and even the guys laying off at the back, they all crashed too.
Yeah, Combeau.
Combeau. So but then it's like, what? This isn't a dangerous descent. You can't take this out. It rained. I don't know what's on the road surface. I'll have to look at it, but I don't really feel like there's anyone to blame. It's just one of those things. I don't know. Maybe, same in the Vuelta and the TT when someone knocked a swimming pool over and it flushed washing liquid onto the course. It's just these things do sometimes happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, that narrative was a bit more funny than today's, unfortunately.
Crashed there again. Visma Lab, brother. He went down like 10 pins. So yeah, race neutralized. We saw Patron Froome at the front, and that's all there is to really say from this stage, Benji. I unless they see something else or there's some news about oil on the road, which maybe there was. That's really it. And I'm glad they didn't do a sprint in the end. And I also think the way the Basque Country stage finished was strange. And the UCI in the end even removed UCI points from that.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they did. So there's not much more to do but go to tomorrow's stage, I think, which is to think of better times. So hopefully from Autorive to Le Colle d'Alevar, 174 kilometers long, so quite long. 3,400 meters of elevation gain. So I would also say, where is that coming from? It looks like a Unipuerto with Dos Puerto, sorry, with a warm-up. But it is a bit more hard than that. There's rolling hills all day. And then they do the Col de Granier, 9K 6%, which is, not particularly difficult descent. And then about a 30-kilometer valley before the Alevar climb, which is hard, very, very hard. 11.2 Ks, 8.5%. The first K is 5% too, so I would say it's about 9% average, and the last 200 meters or so are steep, which looks like the end of Low Port to me, where Roglic turboed away from Remco, and you can actually... This looks like a very, very good Roglic stage, Benji. I think better than the other earlier stage, a prime Roglic, because it's not that hard before. It's very steep. It has a steep finish. You deliver him to the last 300 meters fresh, and he usually in the past not only wins the stage, but also, like in Catalunya against Remco, takes 5-7 seconds on the road.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is that from Roglic's crash earlier this week, plus his crash today, plus Remco's crash today, plus Ayuso's crash today, I do not know what's going to happen tomorrow because I don't know what the state of each rider at the start is going to be. And in addition to that, I don't know how much we're going to be able to conclude from this Dauphiné as a consequence, because we won't have known how much that crash would have influenced the next couple of days, which that's really unfortunate. The Tour de France is unpredictable as a consequence, but it's just a bit sad that we might not see the riders at their best in the coming days, which I was looking forward to. But let's hope it's still a really good race. But I'm wondering, probably there's going to be a team willing to control. If you're Bora, for example, do you have the confidence that you control with Nico Denz and so forth for this stage?
Jungels has got to get on the front.
On the flat,
and Haller.
It's Denz, right? No? Is he still here? He is, eh?
Yeah, but I'd be Sobrero, Hindley, and Vlasov. That's enough for the final climb.
Yeah.
Because their climbing domestics are so good, in fact, overqualified, both of them, that well, they are. Like,
fair.
I would trust Hindley and Vlasov to reduce the group to 5 guys. So either one of them. So I think they actually can use the numbers early and let those guys do it later. Their problem the other day was using Hindley on the flat, having to use him on the flat to chase a Bruno Amiral. Apparently in the chat, Maxime Alouani says in the YouTube live chat that he's from near the Granier, and he says the descent is dangerous. It is longer than the ascent, or steeper rather. So it is even though the climb is easy and shorter, the actual descent is longer. But he says that's one to watch out for. So hopefully it's dry conditions tomorrow, if indeed it is dangerous as he says. And hopefully, Benji, we get a battle, because too often in Basque Country we were denied a chance to see the riders compete properly in the Tour of Flanders. Van Aert is out from Roubaix and Flanders, and the Tour, hopefully we have everyone there, but even this weekend, I don't know how it will affect everybody. I would be surprised if all the guys that crashed are 100% tomorrow. That would seem almost impossible, frankly.
That being said, let's hope for the impossible.
Hopefully.
Obviously, Kruijswijk and Van Baarle and Menton don't look that great, but hopefully the other riders that are still in the race are as perfect as they can be, because that would bring some action. But I think that's about what we can conclude from today. Not the stage we hoped for, certainly, and hopefully it doesn't have major consequences.
Hopefully not. But the reality is, everyone takes stock. They wake up tomorrow and people start thinking again, I want to win this Dauphiné. I want to win this stage. So the race moves on. That's like in Basque Country. The next day, they're racing again. So that's just the nature of the sport. But yeah, hopefully everyone's okay. So what do you think, Benji? Break or who do you got?
I want to manifest a GC battle here, so I'm going to go for GC fight, and why don't I go for like an outsider or something? It's a bit boring to go for like the favorites in a race. So I'm going to go for Jorgensen. The only guy that didn't crash today.
Yeah, okay. I'll go Koos then.
Well,
he didn't crash either.
He should. Sorry, Koos, you need to super domestique for Jorgensen now, okay? I've declared Jorgensen as the winner tomorrow. He needs to.
Oh, true.
Maybe he's 3 minutes behind in GC. He needs to. Come on.
You never count the Eagle of Durango out. He's more than 3 minutes behind on GC, mate. He's like 4 minutes behind. Yeah, you're not going to make that back on one climb. So, you're right, and Jorgensen's right there. So that is something to think about. But maybe hopefully we see Roglic back in peak shape, and this is a really good stage and good finish for him. So hopefully, or even for Remco. Remco's cooked on these sort of stages. So I really don't know I don't know what's going to happen, and that's hopefully the thing. Elsewhere around, ZLM Tour kicked off yesterday. Stage 1 was a TT around the Vestkapelle, and was won by Rune Gerhardt, who in fact I've been wondering where he was all season. He beat Tim van Dijk and Gleb Syriza third, and Max Walker fourth.
Vestkapelle.
Yeah, it sounds Belgian, no?
That does sound Belgian. Wait a second.
Even I thought that. Even I was like, that doesn't sound that Dutch.
Is there a second Vestkapelle? No?
It says, yeah, it's a small city in the island of Walcheren in the province of Zeeland. It's in Zeeland.
There are two. There's a Vestkapelle in West Flanders, and there's a Vestkapelle in Zeeland in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I also was like, that sounds like somewhere in Flanders where they'd have a climb or something.
Yeah, you definitely thought that.
I actually did. And today's stage is
Flanders anyway.
Yeah, I didn't want to make the joke again, but yeah. That stage is still ongoing, but we'll see if Rune Gerhardt can hang on, because that's a pretty big gap actually in this sort of race. Van Dijk will need bonus seconds. The most random thing, did you know Max Walker, the Briton 22-year-old, is on Astana development team, Benji? He joined from Saint Piron in February.
I'm completely missed what you just said.
Max Walker is on Astana Kazakhstan development team.
Ooh.
He's a 22-year-old Briton. He was on Saint Piron. Actually, not a bad pickup from them.
I actually agree.
Yeah, but it's just like a bit of strange scouting.
He's kind of been riding the Asian circuit, right? Tour de Japan. We've got.
I think he's worth a shot.
The middle. That's a Manx. That's
Isle of Man. Yeah. I thought it was Hong Kong. Last night I looked up. I thought, it's Hong Kong. It's not. It's Isle of Man.
Close enough, right?
Close enough. Yeah. Stage 1 of Tour of Britain Women is ongoing as well. That looks like it will be. It could be a sprint, but Kopecky also in a breakaway, so who knows? That's all from us. Bit of a strange day as usual. That's why we're so early. Early stage and then the crash. It's all very strange. Hopefully we're back with Friday tomorrow, a better stage and no crashes. But thanks for being with us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.